eyes are on Donald Trump this morning as the world waits with bated breath for America's next move on the conflict between Israel and Iran. The president is demanding Iran's unconditional surrender, adding the US knows where Iran's supreme leader is hiding and that their patience is wearing thin. He's also warned the people of Tehran to get out now as the US Navy deploys a second carrier strike group to the Middle East. All this comes as Mr. Trump abandons a meeting of world leaders in Canada before flying back to Washington, where his national security team had assembled in the White House Situation Room. For more, Acting Prime Minister Richard Marles joins us in the studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nat.
So the US has deployed this aircraft carrier, 5 destroyers. A show of might. Donald Trump says they now have complete control of the skies over Iran. Where do you see this heading?
Well, we are concerned about the prospects of this escalating. We've been saying that now for the last few days, and obviously in that sense we are calling for diplomacy and dialogue. We want to see de-escalation happen here. We very much understand Israel's right to defend itself, and we also understand the threat that Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program represents to the peace and stability of the Middle East, but in fact the world. So we understand all of that, but we are concerned about the potential for escalation here, and we want to see this de-escalated.
So we've got the US sending stuff in, we've got the UK sending the Royal Air Force jets into the Middle East. Our allies are on a war footing. Where does that leave us?
Well, it leaves us where I said we want to see a de-escalation here. And we do understand what's in play, but we are very concerned about the prospect for this escalating into a wider conflict. There are many Australians in both Iran and Israel, and obviously we are very focused on them right now. We're doing a lot of preparation for assisted departures. The fundamental issue right now is that the skies above both Israel and Iran are closed, and so facilitating those assisted departures is very difficult in this moment. But we are putting in place all the preparations we can so that we can do that as soon as there is an opportunity.
So could you get people out by ground, or you would have to wait for the skies to open?
It's really a question of the skies opening, and so we are preparing for that moment. And there are a range of contingencies that we've got in place to deal with that as soon as it occurs. I mean, as of last night, there are about 650 Australians in Iran who had indicated that they wanted to avail themselves of assisted departure, about 600 Australians in Israel. So there is demand there, and we want to make sure that we're able to provide that as soon as we can.
So if Trump says we need military help from Australia,
well, I'm not about to look. I'm not about to speculate on what may or may not happen there. I mean, actually, I take America at face value, which is that their posture right now is defensive in nature, and it's about defending their people and their assets within the region. Right now, our call is for a de-escalation, to seek diplomacy and dialogue, and our preparations right now are very much focused on providing for assisted departures of Australians who are in the region.
OK, let's talk about Donald Trump leaving our Prime Minister hanging, going back to DC. Should Albo have organised a meeting with the President earlier?
Look, I think we can all understand that the American president's attention gets occupied by world events. That's as it has always been, and we get that there is a big event playing out, as we've just discussed, in the Middle East, and it was perfectly reasonable for the president to go back to Washington DC. There were a range of meetings that he had scheduled on that day with other world leaders as well, which have not gone ahead. So we don't read anything into it other than the fact that the American president needs to deal with a world situation, and I'm sure there'll be a meeting between our two leaders in the not too distant future.
But Keir Starmer got a deal, and he was in the White House with a letter from the King earlier this year, and there were calls from the coalition for Albo to get on a plane much earlier. Do you think in hindsight that was a mistake that he didn't?
I think we need to, well, firstly, there have been phone conversations between the President and the Prime Minister, several, since the President's been inaugurated. You only need to look at what's been going on in Australia over the last few months. We did actually have an election which necessarily occupied all of our time, and when countries have elections, they focus on that around the world. So that's what's been happening here. Look, the relationship between Australia and America right now is in a really good place. It has always been the case, but under this administration, it is in a really good place.
Would you say our relationship with America is in a really good place when we've got big tariffs on aluminium, and at the moment AUKUS is being investigated by the Pentagon?
Well, let's take a step back from both of those. The Department of Defence is doing a review of AUKUS, as we did when we came to government in 2022, as the United Kingdom did when the Labor government came to power in July of last year. It is a perfectly natural step to take for an incoming government to have a look at a major defence initiative such as this. We'll engage with the US on their review, as they did on ours, as we did on the UK's. It's all perfectly normal. In the meantime, both of our countries are working at a pace to implement AUKUS. I mean, in terms of tariffs, more broadly, we have the lowest tariff rate that the United States has with any country in the world. There are other countries in our situation, but that's where we're at. So,
but hang on, your government says these tariffs are not the act of a friend. So that doesn't sound too friendly.
Well, we are a country which engages in a significant amount of trade. We've always been a trading nation, and in fact trade is a growing proportion of our national income. We have always been advocates for an open global trading environment, and we will continue to make that case to the United States.
But when?
Well, we have constantly been making that case to the United States. The Trade Minister.
Doesn't seem to be working.
The Trade Minister has met with his counterpart, but I reiterate, across the board, the tariff level that the United States has with Australia is the lowest that it's got with any country around the world. So,
except the UK's just done a better deal, I think.
Well, we understand. We have a different view in relation to trade than the United States. We make that case to the United States, but it's a position they have in respect of every country around the world. In the broader scheme of things, our relationship with America is in a good place, and we will continue to work with them.
OK. Richard Marles, we thank you for your time.
Thanks, Nat.